One of the doctors said to me, "What's your stress like? Do you sleep very well? Do you love your life? Do you love your husband? Do you love your job? Do you love yourself?" And I was like, who freaking asked those questions?
What are your top inflammatory offenders, and what are simple swaps that won't feel like deprivation?
Yes, the body keeps score, but also the body can heal from anything.
What do you tell women in menopause who really are having trouble sleeping?
There are beautiful supplements. I've been on it for 20 years and it has changed my life.
How do we stay healthy and prevent our bodies from getting toxic from microplastics?
Don't drink anything out of plastic bottles, as you already know, or I don't want people to walk around being so petrified, because then the stress is going to kill you. Self-love for us women is so important. It's self-preservation. I have to say that was worse than the cancer, the insomnia. I ended up doing some plant medicine journeys. He does 2 bone marrow transplants in a year and a half, and he dies from fungal pneumonia at 46. I was again in this depleted mode, in this mode of like, what the f am I gonna do with my life?
At All Golden, we believe beauty doesn't have an expiration date. So if you're a woman 45 or over and you're noticing that your skin is looking a bit drier and crepier, maybe not behaving the way it used to, your products aren't working the way you want them to, your gray hair is getting a bit wiry, come check out All Golden. We celebrate women no matter what age or what chapter of life you're in. But we do know there are specific skincare and hair care needs at this age that are often not addressed with the lines that are out there in the market right now. All those lines talking about anti-aging are so negative, where we try to focus on the positive and looking on the outside the way we feel on the inside, vibrant, youthful, and beautiful. Check out All Golden. We're not like every other line. Go to allgolden.com, where we celebrate age and we celebrate beauty and sexiness, no matter what chapter of life you're in. Hi, I'm Sarah Kugelmann. Welcome to Going Golden. I am so excited to welcome Elissa Goodman today. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about her, and then we're going to get right to it. So Elissa is a holistic nutritionist and cleanse expert based in Los Angeles. She had a bout with cancer early in her 30s and basically turned it all around and healed herself through food and healthy eating. And that is near and dear to my heart, because I also dealt with some health issues in my 20s and learned to deal with it also through holistic means. And so I'm really excited to welcome her today and have her on Going Golden. We're going to have a great conversation. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. And I always love, talking about my story and how the holistic world does really elevate you health-wise to a different,
Yes.
Not against the Western, but do love looking at all avenues, right?
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your story, because it's really interesting.
In a nutshell, like when I was born, I had a low white blood cell count, which I'm 65. So
Are you really?
I did.
Oh my gosh, you look
Just turned 65.
incredible.
I'm not so happy about the number, but I do feel crazy good, like better than I have when
It's just a number.
It is. 30s, 40s, 50s, I feel so good. So it is just a number, but no one knew what to do with the white blood cell count. And so it was just about get sleep. No one told me about diet or stress or any of those things, or not eating sugar. And but I was always sick as a kid, always sick, always feeling behind the 8 ball because of being sick all the time, low energy, just not being able to keep up with my friends. And also my parents ran circles around me. They were just very high energy, getting a million things done. And I was always like, how come I feel so crappy? And so I had an emotional and physical component that was kind of a double whammy growing up. I just always physically and emotionally did not feel good. So I think, life was sort of like, how fast can you make a lot of money? How, got to work your ass off. You have to be on the treadmill consistently, and also not sleeping very well, and things like, just all about success in the business world, or, what you were doing for a living. And it really wasn't about taking care of yourself and really honoring who you were. It was just about basically killing yourself. So I got diagnosed with cancer at 32, Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it was an early stage. So I was lucky. And my whole journey with it was fascinating, because one of the doctors that I went to see wanted to do chemo, radiation, freeze my eggs because I hadn't had kids yet. So I went to a bunch of doctors, and one of the doctors finally that I got to said to me, what's your stress like? Do you sleep very well? Do you love your life? Do you love your husband? Do you love your job? You know, like, do you love yourself? And I was like, who freaking asked those questions? Like, that was 30 years ago.
Yeah, we generally don't hear that in the Western medicine
Still
world.
to this day. Like, no one talks about what our, you know, like, really what's going on in terms of our central nervous system and really calming our nervous system down, or really being able to be in a place where you're not in fight or flight mode. And I was living in fight or flight mode at the nth degree. And I just burst into tears, and I was like, I don't know what happy is. And I don't love myself, because I was taught that loving yourself meant you were egotistical. You know, so I equated it to that, not self-preservation. So I really went on this journey, and I started going to therapy, reading every self-help book, going to yoga. I went hiking to like be out in nature. I actually started juicing. I became a vegan, not a healthy one. And I feel like I did a little radiation, not the whole full radiation they wanted me to, no chemo. I did heal. And the only reason why I did radiation was because friends and family were freaking out that I wasn't going to do anything. I wish I hadn't, because they radiated my thyroid, and I got Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism, and
I have
my
Hashimoto's.
gut. So I got celiac. Yep. I got all kinds of health issues after that. But I was able to overcome them because I was really like dead set on getting myself healthy and, you know, in a good place. I had 2 girls, 11 and a half years after my diagnosis. My husband's diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma at 43 and a half, which is so bizarre. 2 lymphomas in the same family. He does 2 bone marrow transplants in a year and a half, and he dies from fungal pneumonia at 46.
Oh my goodness.
So I was again in this depleted mode, in this mode of like, what the fuck am I going to do with my life?
Yeah. Yeah.
And also
really.
like, wow, like the trauma, like
how did this happen to me?
I already went through one trauma. I'm going through another trauma. So I went back to school and got certified in Eastern and Western nutrition, but honestly, not to become a nutritionist. It was only for my own good and my girls. Like, I needed to get myself healthy. I needed to figure out a way to keep my girls healthy and not have them think that they were going to automatically get cancer or a bad health issue because of what we had gone through. They were on that road. They definitely were scared. And then when I graduated, a couple of restaurants in Los Angeles that I love, Cafe Gratitude, it's vegan, M Cafe, macrobiotic. I worked with Earth Bar, which is a juice bar, and I worked with Erewhon. And they had me design food programs for them and juices for them. And it was just so much fun because my background was advertising and marketing, so it was really easy for me. And I got to do these food programs for years and handhold the cleansers on the food programs and find out about all their health issues. And I just got obsessed with helping people.
What I love about your philosophy and the way you approach this is, and you just sort of referred to this, you said I was a vegan, but not a healthy vegan. Like, I think a lot of people talk about eating healthy, but eating healthy is not always healthy. And so you talk about healing, you talk about detox, and really getting to the root of what's making a lot of us sick. And a lot of people in this country especially have really poor eating habits. And somebody told me once, the body keeps a score, and it really does. It doesn't forget what you put in it. And so I'm 61, so I'm right in the same generation as you. Thanks. And so I also had a health issue. I had a thyroid condition when I was around 25 that was diagnosed. The doctor wanted me to go on medication right away, and I was really resistant to it. And I found a nutritionist / kinesiologist who said, I'm going to cure you with supplements, healthy eating, tinctures. And I followed everything she said. I've been seeing her for 35 years, and I'm pretty healthy. And I mean, I do have a sugar problem, so I'd like to talk to you about that. But yeah, so I really, really respect where you're coming from and the work it's taken to get there. It's very inspiring. Thank you. So what would you tell people who have had no background in this and who are not feeling good, not feeling well is what I like to say, because they're not necessarily sick, they're just not well. Right. And you want to live a more optimal life, like high energy, not being bloated, not being scared when you go to the doctor and get a checkup. So what do you say to people like that? And where do you start?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing is, yes, the body keeps score, but also the body can heal from anything. So your body is so powerful and strong. You give it what it needs, it can get over just about anything, in
Wow,
terms of
that's
health
positive.
conditions, right? The second thing, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe that you can overcome something. Secondly, it's like not rocket science what I do for a living here. It's really about the pillars, the important pillars like sleep. We all hear about that. We're not sleeping enough, or our sleep is disrupted, or we're just like, there's so much at our fingertips that is helping us not sleep very well. So stress and all of that, but sleep is just kind of crucial. So if we can find some really good sleep structure, because sleep does heal the body, and you detox during your sleep.
Yep.
Your
Yep.
organs detox. I mean, also kind of trying to like balance your stress as best you can is
Yep.
huge. There are these pillars like, exercise, just trying to walk and get and move your body. You don't have to do hardcore Barry's boot camp or spinning,
Yep.
but you just got to like keep moving. And then, food is medicine, like eating real food instead of processed food, added sugars, foods that trigger you, that some people are good with gluten, some aren't, some good with dairy, some aren't, there's definitely just watching instinctually what works for you and what doesn't.
I was just going to say, what do you tell women in menopause who really are having trouble sleeping, and how do they get good sleep?
Well, it depends on like if you're pre-peri or in the full-on menopause, because there are beautiful supplements. I mean, I'm a big proponent of HRT.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I went into menopause at 45. So I've been on it for 20 years, and it has changed my life. I never had menopause symptoms. I always get checked. I'm on a low dose of everything, and I've stayed on that low dose. So, but also there are, you got to make sure your nutrients are covered. I do full, thorough blood panels on all my clients, and I do nutrient deficiency tests. So I just don't throw supplements at them. I find out what they're deficient in, and then we supplement. And then I also, on their blood panels, I find out, like, are they adrenally fatigued? Is their thyroid not functioning? The whole endocrine system is important to address for hormones and sleep, and their cortisol levels, So they're easy to fix. Seriously, when you know what you're dealing with and where your hormones are at. I mean, there are these two beautiful steroid hormones that come out of your adrenals called pregnenolone and DHEA. And I'm always testing those. And everybody's pregnenolone and DHEA, even in their 40s, is severely low because they've been stressed. So when we put them on supplements to increase that helps their estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone, and also helps support their thyroid and their adrenals.
I'm glad you brought up HRT because, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and women are confused, and, they hear from one doctor, stay on it, another, get off of it. And I think it's really interesting that with your history of having had cancer that you're on it, and you've been on it a long time and feel really good. I, also was on it. I went off of it because my doctor said, yeah, you've been on it for 7 years, get off. And I felt so awful. And at first I wasn't really sure what it was. And ultimately I went back on and realized like it changed my life. It literally changed my life. So, I was even dealing with depression, which I had never had in my life. And I couldn't understand why I was depressed, like really depressed. And she finally said to me, it's the same hormones that you have with postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And then it just all made sense. So like it all works together.
I have clients who have the BRCA gene, by the way. They actually have a full-on hysterectomy and mastectomy. The doctors are putting them on hormones now.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
amazing.
We've come a long way, and also the compounded bioidenticals are really good, and being tested and having a doctor watch you and making sure, everything is at the balanced level. It's pretty phenomenal.
What do you recommend to women who are not in LA or New York and don't have access to the same kind of holistic medical care and access to healthy food? How do they navigate this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I know we do have access to like everything. But it's also overwhelming that how much access we have here. Sometimes people are like, it's too much. I don't even know where to begin. But, it really is about, first of all, like if you don't have access, farmers markets are beautiful. I think there's farmers markets in most of the country, most of the cities, country. Really going to, places to get fresh vegetables and fruits and things like that. It is very hard sometimes to find, high quality stuff. I try to tell people not to stress so much about it. A lot of times you can get organic frozen vegetables that are just as good, because they've been frozen right when they picked, or frozen fruits, or frozen animal protein. You can definitely, you have access, and there's also websites where you can buy that stuff. So,
amazing.
You just gotta not go crazy about it. I think the bottom line is if you balance the pillars of what I was talking about, stress, sleep, exercise, and eating as clean or as whole as possible, watching your added sugars and your, gluten, dairy, maybe your cow dairy or bad seed oils and things that are really inflammatory, your body is going to know what to do and knows how to metabolize. It's been onslaughted with toxins for a long time. We do have more than we used to, water, air, cosmetics, all those things are kind of, bad for us.
Unfortunately.
There are apps that you can check all of those things these days, which is beautiful to kind of try to go as clean as possible. But the body knows how to detox. So that means you've got to stay hydrated. Women need 96 ounces of hydration in a day. Men need 120. And a lot of my clients get 60, and that's it. So I have a hydration powder that I swear by called Ultima Replenisher. And it has stevia, so it's a strong stevia. So I dilute it into 32 ounces and it gives you minerals so the water goes into your cells. So you get really hydrated. You don't just pee out your water.
I love that. I need to get that immediately.
It is. It's really great if you like stevia. So it's just too strong. Don't do what the bottle says. The next thing is pooping. We don't poop as often as we should. That's major detox. That's the first line of defense for detoxing. We poop maybe once if we're lucky.
I know. I feel like people don't want to talk about that. It's like embarrassing, but it's like we all poop and it's like very necessary to our health.
It is crucial because that's how the toxins come out. So you eat a meal, it gets digested, it goes into your colon, and so if you're not pooping, where's it going? It's hanging out in your colon fermenting. It's not so pretty.
No, that's not fun.
Supposed to go after every meal. And my clients just, their eyes glaze over. What, I'm supposed to go 3 times a day? Like ultimately that would be ideal, but there's no way because we're dehydrated. We don't have enough fiber and we're stressed. It's really interesting. But if you go once a day, you have to go once a day because I get so many constipation issues and twice a day would be ideal.
That is good to know. What do you tell people? Like, do you recommend magnesium or?
Yes. Magnesium at night. There's a Bioptimizer one that I love, 500 milligrams with 7 different kinds. I also just make sure fiber is crucial too. So making sure people get 30 grams of fiber because we usually get 15, 20 at most, but 30 is the minimum. Chia seeds and berries and beans and avocado and things like that are high in fiber. So, but we just don't focus on fiber. We focus on animal protein and we focus on carbs, right?
Yeah, that's so true. Well, I was going to ask you about sugar because I feel pretty good about my fitness routine and what I eat, except for I do have a sweet tooth and I know I eat too much refined sugar. So I saw on your site, your cacao bars. I was like, that's for me.
I know. I know they do have sugar. They do. I have a cleanse in LA, 13 years now, 4 different cleanses we cook and deliver all around LA. And we go to the South Bay and we go out to Malibu and Thousand Oaks. And, I just feed people a lot of food and really don't give them a lot of added sugar, no gluten, no dairy, no processed or bad seed oils or things like that. And it's mostly vegan protein with an animal, with a bone broth. But basically it takes away their sugar cravings. It's wow. When you don't do sugar for 5 days, they're just astonished that they don't have a sugar craving. But there's a lot of things to do for, there is a huge metabolic syndrome issue going on with sugar. I mean, I had a client just this morning whose numbers now went up to 5.7, which is getting to pre-diabetic, and she was freaking out. And she has been a sugar addict. I've tried to get her off the sugar forever. And I've tried to get her on some supplements to like lower her sugar cravings or to rebalance and like metabolize her sugar in her gut. So chromium is one of those that's fabulous for lowering sugar cravings. And berberine is another one for metabolizing sugar in your gut, so making sure that it, if you do eat it, you metabolize it quickly. In the summer, it's better when it's hot. You can eat more sugar because you will metabolize sugar faster. But yeah, sugar, we only are supposed to have 25 grams of added sugar per day. And let's say you go to Erewhon, our natural food market, who's, very hot place in LA, you get a green juice with apple, it's 17 grams of sugar. Then you get an RX bar, it's 12 grams of sugar.
You've already hit the limit.
Totally. And one meal, not even a meal, but a snack.
Right. And you think you're being healthy and getting something that's good for you. Yeah. This is what's really hard. The sugars I find really, really hard.
It is hard.
What about, here's another thing that, keeps me up at night is microplastics. Microplastics are everywhere. How do we stay healthy and prevent our bodies from getting toxic from microplastics?
Yeah. Well, you just want to make sure you don't, drink anything out of plastic bottles, as you already know, or, try to get, there are no microplastics in the things you're buying, food wise, that your food isn't in contact or your water is in contact with it, or your, cosmetics, toiletry, all of that stuff. I mean, the apps, I can't remember what it is, the app that does, you probably might know an app that does that, the BPAs are pretty bad. But again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, just really trying to do the best you can at keeping your system running at a pace where it is naturally detoxing on a daily basis, with just the simple things we were talking about, because we can get rid of those things, we don't want them to build up. I mean, again, it's all the toxic loads of, it all goes through the liver and gets processed there, and then gets transferred into seed form, and we excrete it out through our poop. So you just want to make sure that really you're not to be afraid of these things. I don't want people to walk around being so petrified, because then the stress is going to kill you,
Yeah. No, that's really positive to know that because, I think sometimes you read a lot about this and it feels like it's just going to build up in your body until you just completely get toxic and get cancer, and that's going to be the end. So especially if you live in a place like New York and you're in a big city and you're exposed to all these things. So it's good to know that your body can detox and can, get rid of the things that aren't good for it.
Sweating is another one I forgot to mention, infrared sauna, sweating, then the toxins get excreted out through your skin too.
That's amazing. Yeah. There's been a lot in the news lately too about alcohol and how it's really not good for women, even if you have one glass of wine. So what are your thoughts on that?
That has been so fascinating. I can't even believe the number of people these days who used to drink and don't drink anymore. I think also too, COVID did a number on them. They did drink a lot during COVID because they had nothing else to do. But alcohol is a toxin. It is you ingest it, and there's a formaldehyde that gets it into your system. It's an offshoot of alcohol, and it does do a number on your body. That being said, I mean, I'm a girl of moderation, so I do love to go out and I love to party. So I will have a glass of wine or two, or a tequila. I try to go clean, but sometimes it's hard, sulfite free, or just something that's really good in terms of the cleanness of the alcohol. I mean, and then again, if I do have some of that, I detox my liver. So I take a detox liver supplement, before I go to bed. I just make sure that I'm kind of counterbalancing the alcohol. Because I feel again, like we talked about the vegan, it's hard to be a healthy vegan. I mean, it's not terribly hard to be a healthy non-drinker. That's I mean, you're very healthy if you're not drinking. So,
Yes, yes.
but I feel
It's
like,
really hard. There's a lot of social pressure to drink.
yeah, there is a lot of social pressure. And sometimes people do love to have a glass of wine just to relax and enjoy themselves,
Yeah.
and the blue zones, they drank wine till they were 100. So it was a
I know.
source.
Right. There's got to be something to that.
They're not as stressed. They're eating real food. There's the factors we were talking about earlier. They're probably sleeping better. They have like, it's a very big thing when you have when you have people around you that you love and you feel loved and taken care of, and you have family and support system. We're having a big issue with, people being lonely and not having support systems. So that's causing all kinds of stress and fight or flight mode too. So, I mean, the blue zones, kind of live close to their families and they stay together, and, there's a sense of like support. And the food is more cleaner and the wine is more cleaner, and, they walk and they exercise.
Right. I mean, it's such a good point, because we think of stress being just, like I have a bill to pay, or I'm in traffic, or I'm working too hard. But it really is also about just community, being around people that you care about, that care for you, that you're not lonely, that you're happy and satisfied with what you're doing in your life, that your environment is organized. And, there's just a lot of things that add to our stress that are not necessarily things that you would think about.
Yeah. And what was the clincher for me, because I was having health issues up until I had insomnia about 2 years ago. It stopped, but I had it for about 4 years. And I have to say that was worse than the cancer, the insomnia, because I couldn't figure out what was going on. I ended up doing some plant medicine journeys with psilocybin. I did ayahuasca, psilocybin. I'm very much an adventurous girl, so I try all those things.
Wow.
And I got to see, how hard I was on myself, what a perfectionist I am, how much I still didn't love myself, just all these things. The stress that I put on myself was enormous. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 12. So, because you get to go into your subconscious, and I grew up with a lot of trauma, and everybody has trauma in their life. Someone could have just even at a younger age been mean to you, or your best friend slighted you, and that was trauma. It didn't have to be death or divorce or something really awful. And we just all grew up with that, and we recirculate those thoughts in our subconscious, and it does downregulate our immune system, and it is a huge stress. So when I was able to release like some of those thought patterns that weren't working for me, or some of the stories that I had told myself that I thought were true weren't true, then everything changed in my health.
That's so interesting. So self-discovery and insight into your psyche are also really, really important ways of reducing stress.
And you don't have to do it with the psilocybin or the plant medicine, because a lot of people don't love to go down that road. So there's breath work, there's energy healing, there's cacao ceremonies, the cacao from Peru that's so beautiful, that's a heart opener. I mean, there's so much out there that can get you into that subconscious, get you to release those thought patterns.
Yeah, I feel like we're sort of scratching the surface of that whole area. Like more and more people are experimenting and talking about it. It's really fascinating.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just learning about it. So I'm kind of really interested and intrigued by it all.
Yeah.
So here's a interesting statistic. Over 70% of women over 45 experience gut issues like bloating, IBS, or acid reflux. What are your top inflammatory offenders, and what are simple swaps that won't feel like deprivation?
Okay. So what I feel with the bloating and digestive issues is really like after the age of 30, our digestive enzymes deplete by 50%. So we don't have enough enzymes to break down our food as well. Stress causes our hydrochloric acid to decline. So we also sometimes don't have enough hydrochloric acid in our gut to like also help break down the food. Our microbiome is stressed because we take birth control, over-the-counter meds, any kind of Tylenol, Advil, any kind of meds, thyroid meds, any of that depletes our microbiome, not just antibiotics. So, we've not been really, just in the last 4 or 5 years, we started on the probiotics. But what I do for gut issues, because I deal a shit ton of gut issues, and SIBO and SIBO, and So I do a GI map a lot of times, but that's a stool test to find out what's really going on. But if that isn't, the person doesn't like doing that because people don't love doing poop samples.
Yeah.
So I will just lower their pathogen loads with antivirals, antifungals, and antibacterials for like 4 weeks, and then repopulate their gut with probiotics. And
Oh, wow.
put them on some enzymes, help them break down their food, give them some tips in regards to, just not drinking water with food to dilute the digestive enzymes, to try to not eat stressed, to also try to eat whole food and like really again tune in. What's like sometimes, like I know for me, overdid the cashews. So my gut, after eating cashews for 2 years, it was horrible. And so I had to take them out of my diet for about a year. And still today, I'm scared to put them back in. But they really did a number on my gut because I overdid them. So when you overdo foods, right, they can cause food intolerances.
Yeah.
So
if you're going to take probiotics, is there a certain time of day or before or after eating that you're supposed to take them?
I mean, I always love them on an empty stomach. So you can either take them first thing in the morning. I personally have all my clients on 100 billion. So 100, like it's like we can't get enough. We get trillions, or if I'm doing like lowering bacterial loads and pathogens in the morning, I'll fill them up at night before bed with the probiotic.
Amazing. I was going to ask you about this and you just mentioned it. When I was little, my grandmother used to tell me not to drink while I was eating, that it would basically dilute the enzymes. And I was going to ask you if that's true. Apparently that's not just like a myth or
there's no scientific research. I've looked it up because someone said like that is false. And I looked it up. There's nothing, that you can find out about it, but I just feel better.
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's totally logical.
Right.
So I think that's totally right.
Right. You could drink acidic things like wine if you are drinking. Acidic things will help you digest, but not water.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. What other pieces of advice would you have for women over 45 in terms of their health and things that specifically they would need to focus on at this chapter of life?
So I would say, try to ask yourself if you love yourself. Like that's a huge one. Like self-love for us women is so important because if you can get to a place where you love all your flaws and your imperfections, it's self-preservation. It like gives you a chance to exhale. I know we're taking care of everybody else except for ourselves, Yeah. So to be a little bit selfish and in a good way and to like really admire who you are as a person is absolutely huge as we get older,
Yeah.
And then I would say, for me, ever since I had cancer at 32, I've been juicing greens, not with apple or sugar or beets or carrots or anything, but I just do simple things like cucumber, lemon, ginger, celery, parsley, something very simple in the blender or juicer. You're full of nutrients. It's so good for the skin. It's like great for your gut. It's also, you're getting like a liquid IV of vitamins and minerals. That's kind of a game changer. You're getting fiber. I just think that's exceptional. I think that, just again, doing a full thorough blood work panel at 45 and over, finding out what is going on with those hormones and not waiting till you're in premenopause or menopause, to take care of them. Finding out what's going on with your blood sugar. Is your thyroid functioning as well as it should? I have 20-year-olds with all those problems, So,
yes. No, that's such good advice.
It's a game changer. So not just taking supplements all over TikTok and Instagram. We're recommending supplements. And like, I have clients that are like, you recommended that, I'll take that. I'll not just throwing supplements in your body because you might not need them and they might not be the cleanest. They have fillers, they have additives, you just want them. And also making sure if you are going to take a supplement that the dosages are right. Because if you take 500 milligrams of curcumin, it's going to do nothing for you, So you just—
What can I do to convince you to come to New York and help us on the East Coast?
By the way, I lived in New York for 10 years. That's where I met my husband. And I absolutely love New York. And I thought maybe at one point I have a bi-coastal lifestyle, So I still think that might happen at some point, but my daughter I had a grandchild a week ago, so it's getting harder and
Oh my
harder.
goodness. Congratulations.
But yeah, man, and all my friends and so many people, they're like, you should do your cleanse in New York. It'd be perfect. It'd be so great. It's
It
like
would
a
be great.
market that is concentrated. And I always wanted to do that. But as I get older, I'm starting to think, I'm writing a book called Aging Hacks, and it's going to be done this year. And I just feel I'm getting ready to kind of like maybe like chill out a little more because I've been
Slow down a little bit.
hard.
Yeah. I know it's really, really hard. And I just want to mention too, I really am glad you brought up this whole concept of self-love, because it's something that really motivated me to launch my beauty line, All Golden. And it's been really surprising to me how many women I've met and engaged with over 45 who are beautiful, like physically beautiful, successful, smart, interesting, and feel so badly about themselves. And it's been quite shocking, incredibly sad, and made me realize it's really an epidemic. And it's really why I wanted to launch this company, because although it sounds trite, like it's beauty, the messaging for me is incredibly important, that women celebrate their age, their experience, that they feel good about themselves. And there's some place in the world that depicts women over 45 as beautiful and sexy and relevant, because a lot of why we're feeling the way we feel is because of all the messaging we're getting all day long in all kinds of places.
I know it's really important what you're doing. It's so crucial,
Thank you.
I mean, I'm just became single a year ago in my 60s. So
congratulations.
Interesting. Yes, it is. Congratulations. But wow, to be dating, and in my 60s also is also the same messages. The men in their 60s want 50-year-olds. You're like, but I don't feel 60.
Right, exactly.
It's really, that messaging is really like we're constantly trying to overcome it, and it's hard.
Yeah, well, here's something interesting. So our first guest on Going Golden was a dating and relationship coach who talked a lot about dating and relationships after 50. And she said every single female client she says, oh, I'm too old, I'm 40. I'm too old, I'm 30. I'm too old, I'm 50. She's like, it doesn't matter what age you are.
Really? Okay.
Every woman says that. So she's like, just throw that out the window.
I know. You really do. Thank you.
Leave everybody with that piece of advice. And I would just say, I know I have to close now, so I don't take up your entire day, because I could just talk to you infinitely. But thank you so much for coming on Going Golden. This was fascinating. And if you can tell everybody sort of how to find you and tap into your amazing magic, that would be great.
Thank you. I have a website, Elissa Goodman, ELISSA, and I'm on Instagram and TikTok, of course. And you can buy my homemade bars and granola, and we ship them across the country. I wish we could ship our cleanse. That would be so beautiful. But if you're in LA, it really is something beneficial to try. So, and then I have a book called Cancer Hacks that I wrote about 4 years ago. And I'm excited about this next one, because I do want to help women age in a very vibrant, energized, fulfilling way, and tell them what works and what doesn't work. And,
when is your book coming out?
The end of the year.
Amazing. All right. Well, we're all going to look for it and read it. So thank you so much again.
Thank you.